Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to our next presentation. Our next presenting company is Summit Minerals Corp. And presenting on behalf of the company is VP Technical Services, Sharyn Alexander. Sharyn, go ahead.
Thanks, Derek. Thanks, everyone, for joining us. It's good to have an opportunity to speak about our current driller program at the Buck property, where we're following up on some of the high-grade mineralization we discovered last year. Here are some cautionary notes about forward-looking statements. And I'd also want to remind everyone that a longer version of this presentation will be available on our website, sunsummitminerals.com. So quickly to go over the company and our project. So we've made a significant high-grade discovery in a previously untested area at our Buck project in central BC. We've recently started drilling again, so we're currently drilling. The project is easily accessible by road. We can drive right to site. We can drill year-round, as well as we're well-financed and we're fully funded for exploration into 2020. So Buck's located just south of the town of Houston, which is about an hour's drive from Smithers. It's close to existing infrastructure. The Yellowhead Highway is there. Just north of site. There's the potential for year-round exploration, drive right to site via all-weather access roads and Forest Service roads. The project itself is located within a recently expanded 33,000 hectare 10-year package. It's located close to formerly producing mines such as Equity Silver Mine and Huckleberry, as well as current exploration projects such as Silver Queen, the Fenton and Poplar projects. We also are fully permitted for exploration. We have a 5-year multi-year area-based permit, which was granted in 2020. So the Buck property has undergone a lot of historic exploration from the 40s, 1960s. However, the bulk of the exploration has been done in the 1980s. So a lot of drilling, sampling, trenching, as well as geophysics. There were some very encouraging results, long intercepts of continuous gold mineralization, as well as some higher grades seen in surface trenching, for example. And that's what initially drew us to the property in 2019. Bob Willis, our CEO, really identified the opportunity here. So one of our first tasks was to compile a lot of this historic data into a database, validate it, model it in 3D. We really wanted to use some of this historic data to our advantage, of course, using modern techniques and technologies. Most of the historic drilling has been done in the horseshoe and trench zones. And although we've had, there's been significant drilling on the project, there was no fresh core. So the core was left outside, exposed to the elements, so really not suitable for relogging or re-assaying. So one of the first things we did last year in March is we had a small drill program. We drilled 5 holes for just under 2,000 meters. So with those holes, we were able to compare some of the lithology and grades that we were getting with some of the historic core. So Buck itself, it's a large altered breccias system, widespread near surface gold and silver mineralization. Most of the host rock is hydrothermal or magmatic breccias, as well as volcaniclastic rocks such as tuffs. The main styles of mineralization, we have epithermal related kind of bulk tonnage style of mineralization is more disseminated throughout the rocks. As well, we have what is more structurally or vein controlled higher grade targets, and that's seen in faults and fracture fills. Sulfides are dominantly pyrite and sphalerite. As well, there's widespread clay alteration, quartz sericite alteration, and some secondary carbonate. So if you can see on the map there, the phase 1 holes from our last program in March is in orange. As well, last fall, we completed just over 4,000 meters, over 10 drill holes. You can see those colors in green on the map. And this was to test the lateral and vertical extent of the gold and silver mineralization at Buck. As well, you can see we've stepped towards the north, towards the Buck North Zone, which is an exploration target that we identified this past summer through geochemical sampling. We've also identified several structural zones throughout Buck. So the Buck structural corridor, you can see there on the map. It's a series of west-northwest trending structures, fracture networks, which cross-cut the area. We also delineated, some north-south faults, which are thought to have offset some of the existing mineralization. So there's some evidence of movement, as well as almost like a down dropping of mineralization as you go west. And so these structures are thought to be major controls on mineralization. It's thought that the hydrothermal fluids have come through these rocks, through the faults and structures, and that's where we see some of the highest grades. However, I also want to stress that we have a lot of bulk tonnage type targets here. The mineralization is disseminated through some of these more permeable rocks, and that's what gives Buck such a large surface footprint. So if I just draw your attention to holes 1 and 2 from our first program last year, for example, 91 meters of 0.75 gram per ton gold, including 33 meters of 0.94 gram per ton gold, as well as 81 meters of 0.73 gram per ton gold, including 44 meters of 0.96 gram per ton gold. So, you know, we're getting these long intercepts, 50 to 100 meters of half a gram to a gram gold, which really gives Buck its bulk tonnage potential. However, the key takeaway from our last drill program was the discovery of a significant high-grade zone in a previously untested area, and that is from hole 12, which you can see just in the center of the map there. So the hole was collared in the horseshoe zone and drilled to the west below the trench zone. Although there are historic holes in the trench zone, they're very shallow, only 50 to 100 meters in depth. And so it proves that, you know, that these types of significant intercepts at depth are present on the property. So these types of grades have not been seen at Buck before. So it's pretty exciting. If you go through hole 12, just at the surface, we have 40 meters of 0.89 gram per ton gold, 17.5 meters of 5.86 gram per ton gold, as well as 3 meters of 23 gram per ton gold, 7.5 meters of 10.19 gram per ton gold, as well as a meter and a half, close to 50 gram per ton gold. And at the base, just over 12 meters of a gram per ton gold. So some pretty significant grades here. Of course, we are following up on some of these high-grade targets in our current drill program. It's definitely an exciting area that we'd like to follow up on. So just to review the IP from our survey last fall, shows several chargeability highs coincidence with some of the epithermal related mineralization. So if you look at the yellow shading on the IP map there, that's everything above 20 milliseconds. And the pink and the red is everything above 30 milliseconds. The map on the left, you can see that's the 150 meter depth slice. So you can see several chargeability anomalies found near the trench and horseshoe zones. As well on the right, the 300 meter depth slice as well, we have several large anomalies. It's also, keep in mind, many of these anomalies appear largely untested. There's no historic drilling. And so with this current drill program, we are hoping to target some of these anomalies and chargeability highs. And you can see some of our proposed holes are the yellow stars on the map there. So next, I'll draw your attention to the section line. And just to go over the section. So the pink outline is the interpreted mineralized envelope. And that's based on a model based on the structural fabric. And then we have the IP anomalies. So the pink shaded area, that's everything above 30 milliseconds. The yellow shaded area is everything above 25 milliseconds. So you can see on the right in the horseshoe zone, there's several anomalies near surface, as well as you can tell by the grade of the downhole traces there that we have some significant near surface mineralization. This is where we get the bulk of what we're calling the Buck style mineralization. So long intercepts of continuous grade. So some of the intercepts that I listed previously, 50 to 100 meters of 0.5 gram to 1 gram gold. As well, we also identified a new style of mineralization. So this is found at the top of hole 12, hole 7, and also hole 6. You can see they're in the horseshoe zone. So it's a sphalerite mosaic breccia, full of sulfides, very zinc rich. We're getting grades of 40 meters, but 1 gram per ton gold. In hole 6, 46 meters of just over 1 gram per ton gold. It's thought that this system is very complex. So there's multiple phases of mineralization, lots of fluids running through the system. And so our geologists recently spent some time looking at some of the core from 2020, re-logging and photographing some key mineralized zones. And that's helped us try to understand the nature of the mineralization in the different areas at Buck. A lot of this mineralization, it falls within the anomalous zones of IP chargeability. And you can also see almost like a down dropping of this, of the IP anomalies as you go to the west along these north-south faults. You can see hole 12, which is our discovery hole, drilled away from the horseshoe zone into an area previously untested. You can see the shallow holes at the trench zone. And so hole 12 has really has been in an area where we didn't have a lot of information. So this is a game changer in terms of, figuring out what's going on at Buck. Hole 12 itself intersected multiple zones of gold mineralization. The hole itself ended in mineralization, and so it's open at depth. So it's a pretty exciting target for us. There's also several IP anomalies which are largely untested. For example, if we look at anomaly C2, there's been no drilling into that area. You look at the top of the anomaly itself, it's only about 200 meters from surface, so it's very drillable. And we have planned several holes in our current drill program to test this anomaly. So again, some exciting results hopefully coming down the line. So a detailed look at some of the high-grade intercepts from hole 12. You can see some zones of visible gold. It's associated with quartz, pyrite, sphalerite, veinlets. Now this here is from a section which graded close to 50 gram per ton over 1.5 meters. So some pretty amazing pictures of the visible gold that we're seeing in hole 12. And so we will be following up on some of these high-grade zones with our current drilling. As well, a closer look at the mosaic breccia that we're finding in the horseshoe zones, top of hole 12, as well as 6 and 7 from our last drill program. So we have a sphalerite cemented matrix within a very angular breccia. The hand specimen on the upper left, you can see grades close to 5 gram per ton gold. As well, the core at the bottom of the photo you're looking at grades, 40 to 50 meters of close to 1 gram per ton gold. So our geologists are very keen to look at these new styles of mineralization and try to understand the nature and controls of mineralization at Buck. So we are currently drilling. Our current drill program, we've planned about 5,000 meters. However, the total meterage is very results-based. It depends on things such as assay turnaround time, which everyone seemed to have a problem with last year. The site itself, it's easily accessible by road. We can drive right to site. So we will be targeting some of these high-grade zones that we discovered last drill program. As well, the geophysical targets that we identified through the IP survey last fall, as well as investigate the strike extent of some of this sphalerite-rich mosaic breccia that we're seeing near surface between the horseshoe and the trench zones. So to quickly go over our management team, Tukey Angus and Bob Willis started what was San Marco Resources back in 2005. Of course, we renamed the company to Summit Minerals last year to reflect the change of location to BC. Tukey Angus is chairman of the board. He's been a significant industry player for years. Bob Willis is our CEO. He's also made significant discoveries in his career, and he really excels at identifying prospective areas and maybe projects that have been overlooked in the past. We also have a very strong technical team, which brings a fresh perspective on the project using modern techniques and new technologies. So for example, we have a custom cloud-based database, as well as 3D modeling right on site, sections and things like that. So in terms of our share structure, we have just over 51 million outstanding shares. As of today, we have about 20 million market cap and just over 3 million in the bank. So that's it. Thanks for listening, and we're excited to share some results with you once we get them.
Great, thanks, Sharyn. That's a great summary. First question from the audience relates to what are your plans for a U.S. stock listing? I guess, do you guys have an OTC listing, and then are you thinking about getting one? Is the probably more specific?
Yeah, we do have an OTC listing, and I believe our corporate communications, Nancy Curry, has been working on expanding that presence in the States. It's something that we have been looking into. So short, I believe it's SMREF. We'll be looking into that. Yeah, definitely in the future. We do have an OTC listing though.
Okay. All right. And you're looking at potentially upgrading it to a sort of a higher level then, that makes
yeah,
sense.
Yeah, I believe it's just the pink sheet now. And yeah, we might be looking at upgrading it for sure.
Okay. Excellent. One of the things when I first started talking to Sun Summit that you guys used to talk about a lot more was the comparison between it and this project and Blackwater. Maybe can you talk about a little bit of the comparisons and then the differences? Obviously, the high grade hole you guys hit towards the end of last year is a significant difference from what they've seen at Blackwater historically.
Yeah, and just to mention with Blackwater as well, we have Christopher Leslie on our team, who was part of the discovery team at Blackwater when it was with Richfield Ventures. And so that's what initially drew us to the Blackwater analog is Chris reached out to say, just how some of these, grades and geology was very similar to Blackwater. So yeah, we're using it as a geological analog, similar rock types, similar styles of mineralization. So the large surface footprints, long continuous grades. And so while there are some significant differences, and we really do think that Buck can stand on its own two legs, that the differences apart from large surface expression and some of these long continuous grades, really it proves that this type of bulk tonnage, mineralization is viable, it's mineable. Artemis Gold recently bought the project from New Gold, and they are doing grade control drilling and things like that. They really are advancing the project. So in terms of geological analog, Buck is very similar, and we're looking to Blackwater to see what they end up doing with mining this style of deposit.
Okay. And then, I guess, how does the that hole from the end of last year, that higher grade intercept, I guess it was released at the beginning of this year, but it was drilled last year. How does that intercept fit that model, or does it sort of say that there's potentially some upside over sort of what is a large low grade continuous ore body at Blackwater?
Yeah, I think with Blackwater they did still have some higher grades. What we're noticing about Buck, though, is as we're drilling in the new areas, we're really identifying new styles of mineralization. So it's really highlighting that Buck is very complex. For example, the type of mineralization where we saw in hole 12, which is kind of west of the horseshoe zone, it's its own style of mineralization, as well as the near surface mineralization we're seeing between the horseshoe and trench zone is something different on its own. So right. I think we'll have to look towards the system as very complex and have different styles. Like for example, in hole 12, we're seeing a lot of quartz veinlets hosting the mineralization, while in the horseshoe zone, it's more disseminated throughout some of the more permeable rocks. So that will definitely come into play when we look at how we would mine this, our resource drilling and things like that. So we just really scratched the surface on the different styles here. The high grade mineralization though is definitely a welcome addition to the project. And yeah, we're continuously learning, and more drilling will only bring us more information.
Yeah, it sounds like you have multiple mineralizing, potentially multiple mineralizing events because you have the different styles of mineralization, which can make for very large projects when that happens.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. There's definitely something there.
Yeah, well, and I guess there's more to learn as you guys are drilling now, and investors can look forward to results as they become available through the labs. I think with that, thank you very much, Sharyn, and thank you everyone for attending today. Invite you all to jump over to the next session, which is starting now.